With the threat of a two-front war lurking on India, the Indian Air Force could decide to drastically increase its sanctioned squadron strength. The operational requirement may be raised from the current 42 to as high as 55 squadrons, which will be the highest ever in Indian Air Force history. Sources quoted in the New Indian Express stated, quote, 42 combat squadrons may not be able to meet the requirement to handle two-front wars. With the way technology is changing fast in conjunction with the number of platforms being added into the services of both China and Pakistan, unquote. The highest ever squadron strength in the Indian Air Force was 41 way back in 1996 before a steady decline. Now again, multiple fighters in Indian Air Force are nearing the end of their life cycles, and in turn this will lead to large-scale induction of newer fighter jets.
Production agencies have to invest in their advanced manufacturing processes.
The Indian Defence News report adds, quote, sources suggest a substantial upward revision of 30 to 35% to the existing mandate, potentially raising the future requirements to over 55 squadrons, unquote. Currently, the Indian Air Force flies only 31 squadrons, which is the lowest ever since the 1965 war with Pakistan. This will go down to below 30 this year when the final two MiG-21 squadrons are also retired. So is the dream of 55 squadrons even realistic? By when does India hope to achieve this goal? Which current and future fighters will make up these additional squadrons? And how many fighter jets do Pakistan and China actually have? We'll get you all these details and more, so stay with us. First things first, the Indian Air Force and the Indian Army could destroy terror headquarters in 9 different Pakistani cities simply because India established total air dominance over Pakistan, even though it was for short term or a short window. This is an undisputed fact. Establishing air dominance once again will be key if it becomes a sustained conflict, instead of Pakistan surrendering in merely 4 days like it did in the recent war.
Beggars can't be choosers.
भारत ने आतंक के ये हेडक्वार्टर्स उजाड़ दिए.
Sources in the military establishment confirmed to the Tribune that upper ceiling of 42 squadrons was under review now, with a view on a sustained conflict with each squadron comprising of 16 to 18 fighter jets. It also hints or indicates towards a preference or tactics or strategy of theater-level missions involving dozens of jets for each operation instead of stealthier attacks by 1 or 2 fighter jets sneaking behind enemy lines. So this development comes 4 months after Operation Sindoor. The top army brass also defined this 4-day conflict as a testing ground for China to test its own military hardware via its proxy Pakistan. Needless to say, the Chinese HQ-9 air defense system failed to prevent Indian missile strikes on terror camps in 9 Pakistani cities, nor prevent Indian missile strikes on 11 Pakistani airbases. The famed Chinese PL-15 air-to-air missiles also largely failed, with all Indian pilots safe back home and accounted for. However, Chinese PLA is sure to learn from this incompetence of the Pakistani military. The Indian Air Force is also navigating a critical period of modernization, facing the urgent task of replacing its aging fleets of Jaguar, Mirage 2000s and the MiG-29 fighter jets. All these fighters are set to be grounded in a phased-out manner starting 2030. After the MiG-21 retires on September 26th, the squadron number will be the lowest in at least the last 5 to 6 decades. India's Air Chief Marshal AP Singh said in February that the Indian Air Force needs to induct 35 to 40 fighter jets each year to fill this capacity shortfall. Just last month, India's Chief of Army Staff, General Upendra Dwivedi, warned that the country's next war may happen soon. So what exactly is the Indian Air Force doing to fill this gap? Marking the largest defense procurement in India's history, the Ministry of Defense has received a formal proposal from the Indian Air Force to acquire 114 made-in-India Rafale fighter jets. India is in fact in advanced stages of signing the government-to-government deal with France, with a formal deal potentially being signed within the next year, costing a whopping 2 lakh crore rupees or nearly $24 billion. The proposal includes an indigenous content of more than 60%, making it a landmark in both scale and domestic defense manufacturing. However, due to the urgency of depleting squadron strength, France will be delivering at least 18 Rafale jets off the shelf in a short time frame with direct fly-away delivery. These jets are expected to arrive significantly faster than traditional procurement schedules, bypassing the delays associated with local assembly and manufacturing ramp-up. The first squadron of 18 Rafale will arrive in a fully fly-away conditions, ready for operational deployment. These will be equipped with air-to-air Meteor missiles, Scalp cruise missiles, and designated Indian hardware upgrades. Rest of the bulk order, over 90 units, will be assembled domestically in India with at least 60% indigenous content. The PM Narendra Modi-led government just last month also cleared the project for buying 97 LCA Tejas Mark 1A fighter jets for the Indian Air Force in a massive 62,000 crore rupee deal. Hindustan Aeronautics Limited or HAL will manufacture these aircraft, although they will have American GE F404 engines. The Tejas Mark 1As have upgraded avionics and radars compared to the initial 40 LCAs supplied to the Indian Air Force. The indigenous content in the new LCA Mark 1As is more than 65%. Now, these will be backed by at least 5 to 6 squadrons of the larger and more capable Tejas Mark II. Progress is also being made on India's own 5th generation stealth aircraft program. The Defense Ministry is fast-tracking the development of the Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft or AMCA. As HAL moves forward with a crucial public-private partnership for the manufacturing process, 28 private sector firms have already expressed interest in collaborating on this ambitious project. According to sources, the select private firms will be crucial for the project's success, taking on key roles in areas such as avionics and flight control systems. This collaborative model will accelerate the development of the AMCA and strengthen India's overall aerospace manufacturing ecosystem. The 120 kilonewton engine for the AMCA Mark II is being developed in partnership with France's Safran. AMCA is all set to be inducted by 2035 as confirmed by the Defense Research and Development Organization or the DRDO. The deadline is non-negotiable as it targets the first flight of an AMCA prototype in 2028, and after completion of all development trials by 2034, the AMCA should be inducted by 2035. The Indian Air Force has expressed the need for at least 7 squadrons of the AMCA stealth fighter. However, in its latest goal, Indian Air Force also laid out a crucial roadmap to modernize its fleet with the induction of at least 10 to 11 squadrons of 5th generation stealth fighters as soon as 2040. These advanced aircraft will constitute now at least 25% of Indian Air Force's fleet. So this indicates that the Indian Air Force could still opt for 3 to 4 squadrons of a foreign stealth fighter, most probably the Sukhoi 57 from Russia, manufactured right here in India. Meanwhile, pressure is building on India with its adversaries also boosting their own fleets. Remember, China has already fielded more than 200 5th generation J-20 fighter jets. Its flagship project meant to support China's air dominance in East and South China Seas and across the LAC in the Himalayas. Pakistan is also facing dire need to modernize its air force after the hammering by the Indian Air Force in Operation Sindoor. Reports suggest Islamabad may accelerate the purchase of Chinese 5th generation J-35 aircraft with deliveries within a couple of years. However, Pakistan's own defense minister dismissed these reports as media speculation.
It's only in the media, it's only in the media and...
Still, Pakistan will try and upgrade from the J-17s and J-10s which were outclassed by Indian Rafale fighters along with the Sukhoi 30 MKIs in the recent war, as Indian fighters managed to hit multiple targets inside Pakistan, including some of its most fortified air bases like Noor Khan.
Hit Pakistan's various provinces, including airport in Rawalpindi and other places.
Pakistan Air Force currently flies 25 squadrons, which is not only below India but far behind Chinese PLAF, which operates 66 squadrons, though most of them face east to guard against the Americans, Taiwanese, and Japanese threats. In other words, India currently has around 522 fighter jets compared to Pakistan's 450 and China's 1200 fighter jets. Though the Chinese fighter jets stationed on the Tibetan plateau cannot operate on full fuel and payload capacity, which gives Indian Air Force the advantage. Though China does have strength in numbers and India needs to close that gap. With both China and Pakistan looking to expand their own air forces, it becomes imperative for the Indian Air Force to be prepared for any two-front war. But what do you believe? Do you think India will be able to increase its squadron strength to 55? Leave a comment with your opinion, hit the like button and subscribe to Inconnect News.